here with the grand final. Mudda, the regular season winner, Carl Jr., the regular season second place. They meet here in the final, both having played fantastic throughout the day. Mudda setting a world record, Carl Jr. driving consistently fast. Going into this match, Mudda has not ever won the playoffs. Carl Jr. has won it 3 times. It's really the new guy on the block versus the kingpin of Trackmania esports.
Agreed. And the fact, I still think, I got disconnected from the server.
I did as well. I think it might be to change the match settings, so don't worry about it.
Oh, yes. But yeah, once again, the European scene has been completely knocked out of the Trackmania Grand League.
They did, and you know what? I'm all for it. If, it's cool to see players from all regions compete. We need to get Asia involved as well. Get the amazing teams from there and players from there. But really, it's a very international game now, and not just France and Germany winning everything.
No, I mean, Carl Jr. is a Canadian, right? So I mean, he has won quite a lot as well. But it's good to see the Oceanic region and Mudda going up, and it's actually very, very cool to see that even if we're in the European time zone, it is the other nationality or the other continents that are doing the work. That's crazy.
It's so cool because Mudda's talked about this when he had the winner interview last week. How he's playing at 4 or 5 a.m. Australian time, and not only is he awake, but his parents are always awake to watch the streams and cheer him on. And so they always get up very early in the morning every Sunday to watch Tmgl stuffs. And now I think they can feel pretty proud to see their son in the finals. That's the type of parents you need, honestly. That's commendable.
Yeah. And I mean, how could you not support at this point when Mudda is in the top 2 of the literally hardest championship there is in the game, arguably? It's incredibly well played.
It really is. He's gone a long way. Whatever happens at this point, you can be proud of getting this far, but getting the title, lifting the trophy would feel extra nice. These players have had a bit of banter in previous seasons. I remember, I think it was fall season where, no, was it fall? I don't know. It was about a year ago. Mudda got a lot of world records on the maps pre-season and beat Carl on a couple maps with a couple hundredths. Tweeted it out and said, at Carl Jr., you're going to have to try harder. And then after Carl won the regular season, he tweeted back a screenshot off the rankings saying, at Mudda, you gotta try harder. So
yeah,
they have a little bit of banter.
Yeah, and it's always fun.
It's fun to see now these two duke it out here. I'm sure you want to win it with the, the friendly rivalry going on.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Once you're at the top of the top, you always play against the same players, and you get very, familiar with the name and the person. So, these players are friends, and friendly banter is just a part of a competition at this point, right?
It really is, because at the same time, you have such a tremendous respect for your opponents able to play at that level. And I think we're going to see it here on Touchdown already. World record, 0.1. I know both Carl and Mudda are going to be able to drive 0.2, 0.3. But knowing that they have this 1 versus 1 dynamic, you really don't want to crash. If you keep crashing and losing rounds like that, you kind of lose the psychological advantage just because you feel like you can't do it. Your opponent's just getting free wins. So it's important to get off to a good start, to not crash the early couple of rounds. And if you win the first map, you really have good grips on the best of 5.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth noting, and I think it's a little fun, that the 2 players that fought it out for the victory of the regular season are now fighting it out for the victory in the grand finals.
Top 2, both places.
Top 2. Yep. Top 2 both places, and it goes to show that these players definitely have proven themselves to be worthy of being here at the moment.
And also going into this playoffs, there was a lot of talks about Carl Jr. How much does he want at this time? Last season it was clear he didn't really care too much for the playoffs, but now we see him care, and we see him in the finals, and it's always a question of, can anyone beat him when he is at his best? If Mudda does it here, It is a rare occurrence. It's not something many players can do. We're starting in just 10 seconds with the grand final of Trackmania Grand League Spring 2022. Janik, get us into this first round of Touchdown.
Yes, once again, it's a best of 5. Remember, you can always see the points underneath their names as we go into the first round here on Touchdown. It is Mudda versus Carl Jr., a 1 versus 1 format. And we're going to see them be neck and neck here in the first little while of the map, as both of the players have proven they have insane pace. It is worth noting that Mudda is the one who picked this map. So we're going to see if Mudda does have anything to show for it. Like if he's going to be able to take it home. Hopefully he is going to be able to take home his own map pick, as it would be detrimental to his mind games here. Carl Jr. currently 0.1 behind.
Mudda in the downhill, not his trajectory that he wanted to do. He tried to set up for an early drift, but had to neo slide actually to activate the drift, and that lost him 0.2 there. So this is something that's very hard to regain in the ending. You can't really get it for free. You really got to get good ramp tricks. And we're going to see both players go for this inside line that we saw last match. Mudda trying his best on the first one. Maybe got a tiny bit closer, but it's marginal. And the second ramp trick, he does get it nicely here. Oh, that's actually going to be very good speed, but Carl will remain ahead here. And just that one failed drift activation is enough for Carl to take the round.
And you can tell that even though Carl knew he was 0.2 ahead there in the ending, he did not slow down. He did not go for a safe jump even once. Like, they are definitely pushing it to the limit. And Carl Jr. takes home the first round here of Touchdown on Mudda's map. And as you've said, it is super important not to crash, because once you crash, it's immediately obvious to the other player due to the splits on the left side of their screen. So they're going to be able to save it quite fast. Now, both of the players have a pretty decent start here. Mudda going a little bit more inside, I think. But they're going to be neck and neck once again. Who gets the best turnaround?
Ooh, good speed for Mudda.
So inside, yeah, but Mudda has more exit speed. Is he going to be able to utilize that to overtake? It does not look like it right now. Mudda going for more inside light here as well, and Carl Jr. is going to have more speed. Carl Jr. also does a little turn to the other side to drift cancel his car to get more extra speed out of that wall ride, and that's going to push him in to even more of a lead. Almost 0.2 ahead of Mudda, but I think Mudda has a little bit more speed. Is he going to be able to overtake here in the ending with a low jump? Mudda jumping a little higher than Carl Jr., but actually gets the overtake, and Carl Jr. is now in the back. Needs to get a more precise jump here in the ending, but Mudda almost making a mistake. Yeah, Carl Jr. is going to take home the second point. Unfortunate. Mudda did try to risk it for the biscuit. Unfortunately, it did not work out for him this time.
Yeah, kinda had to, as he was so far behind. You know, you never really know just what your opponent can do on that last jump. He went all in, and if he landed it, he likely would have won. So it was a calculated risk to take. Will cost him 2 early points here, though. It's first to 4 on every map, and if Mudda loses this one, he pretty much has to win Water Glider afterwards if he doesn't want to have to reverse sweep the 3 next maps, and that can be very difficult to do. So important to stay alive here. If he gets Touchdown, then he is on good track to claim the title, the trophy. Carl Jr. in second here after the start. Mudda on the inside line here. You see Carl sets up wider for more speed, and then as you said, the left tap there in the uphill, steering the wrong way off the turn to stop the car from sliding, is what gives him the lead. Into the jumps here, he's still a tenth ahead, Janik. Can he hold it for 2 jumps?
Mudda getting a little bit of airtime and a very risky line into the identity. He's now going to be 0.2 behind, but if he gets some good jumps here, he's still going to be able to pressure Carl Jr. a little bit. See, he's only 0.1 behind now. Is he going to be able to pressure even more? Actually gets a super low jump, and Carl Jr. making a mistake, and Mudda is going to take home this point. Nothing is safe here, and once again you can see the knockout in the middle of the screen. Once again, that is how the knockout looks. If you are 2 seconds ahead of your opponent between checkpoints, you're gonna knock them out. The players have agreed to this going into the finals, and that is why the knockout has been reinstated.
Yeah, Mudda gets the point there, Janik, but he won the round with a 1:12.55. And on that last checkpoint, he was 4/10 behind Carl. Carl was actually on world record pace there that round before he crashed.
Oh my god.
And so if you're Mutta here, you're saying, okay, I got that point, but my god, am I going to have to drive fast here? Because Carl is showing some incredible signs of pace early on. And low line once again, but that time he clipped the wheel a little bit. You saw he got a bump, and Mutta able to punish that now. Goes up into first, but this inside approach is uncertain if it's going to pay off. He gets to the uphill earlier, gets to slide cancel earlier, and in fact, he's holding on here. Did not lose any time there to Carl into the downhill plastic turn. You want to speed slide this exit, get a little bit more momentum going into the jumps. They're side by side here, equal before the two ring jumps. The first one, Mutta going very low, does pick it up just at the last possible moment, and that gives him the lead over Carl. On the second jump, however, they both go just about as high, and Mutta should be able to defend this lead into the ending. Last turn here, no mistakes will happen, and Mutta equalizes us into a 2-2 scoreline.
And honestly, that lead, that 0.1 lead comes all the way from the Engineer section where Carl Jr. just went a little bit too tight, lost 0.1, and that's all it takes. That is all it takes. It is so difficult to come back because the pace of these players are just world-class, both of them. So as we go into the next section right here, we're going to see the players be neck and neck once again, as they're going to be continuing to be until somebody makes a little bit of a blunder, but it is not necessary that any of them do it. Here, both of them going for the inside line. Mutta getting a little bit of a jump right there. Is going to lose some speed. Is he going to be able to make up for it right here? Gets a more inside line than Carl Jr. Carl Jr. getting a little bit more exit speed, so they're going to be neck and neck once again. And here you can see they're 0.02 away from each other. Carl Jr. is going to do the drift cancel right here. Mutta once again does it as well, but Carl Jr. getting it a little bit better, extending his lead going into the identity. Carl Jr. gets the advantage going into it, but they're very close to each other.
Can Mutta get the jumps good here? He's good at figuring out these tricks, very methodical in his practice. He often spends hours just looking at different angles, seeing what can work, seeing how he can be as consistent as possible. Here, Carl goes very high. Mutta goes low, and that might mean Mutta has more speed. Yes, it will. Mutta with the speed advantage and the time advantage in the ending, and he will take that one away and be our first finalist on this very first map.
And, you know, as we've talked about, the momentum, getting 3 victories in a row, it gets into your head. Like, it's so good for the motivation and for the, you know, just for Mutta's mindset that he got that. Oh, Mutta going very close to the outside right there at the start. But he did manage to get it. It's a little bit slower here in the start, but that's fine. At least he did not crash. He can definitely still make it back. But Carl Jr. with a little bit of an advantage going into the start. And hopefully Mutta doesn't get the bump.
Yeah, remember, that was the round where he got the bump in the start too, and he was able to come back. So now, when he's in the lead without that, you have to think that he can perhaps win by an even bigger margin. It looks like he's slightly better on those ending jumps, but Carl does a faster line on this middle part with the slide early cancel. Gives him more speed across this long part and into the drift. You can see he just pushes for more speed, Carl. And he will be slightly ahead, but this is much closer than it was last time. Mutta, with good exit speed on the plastic, actually contesting for first place on the first ring jump. Sets it up, gets the back wheel touch, and after the first jump, he has a car length lead. Now on to the second one. Needs that big nose down tilt, and he gets it. This could be Mutta winning the first map. Carl is very far behind. Carl, too far perhaps. Oh, Mutta saving the last turn, holds it by 100th, but that is 100th enough to take the map win, and Mutta starts out by winning his first choice.
That is important for Mutta, and I see why he picked this map. Mutta did perform very well, and honestly, he won 4 rounds in a row right there. So even though Carl Jr. took the first couple of rounds, it did not hurt Mutta's mindset one bit. He jumped right back into it and took a quick 4-0 bop down.
He really did, but he goes from his own map choice to perhaps the most terrifying thing you can imagine in the tournament, which is 1 versus 1 against Carl Jr. on this map. There's no one to help you. There's no escape. The only way you can win is by trying to beat him, and you're going to have a tough time doing so.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Jr. has shown that not only does he have pace on this map, he has been the most consistent throughout the night, I think, on this map. And it is, as you said, only one person to deny him, and that is Mutta. And already in the start here, Carl Jr. does have a lead, 0.1. He has more speed. Maybe that speed is going to accumulate. It does depend on the angle on the uphill right there. The more of an angle you have in the uphill, the more speed you're going to lose. But Carl Jr. does maintain the lead. Mutta tries to push it there on the wall ride, going into the plastic section. Both of them are looking for a gear up without sliding. Mutta accidentally not getting a good gear up, and it's going to lose some time here. 0.3 behind Carl Jr. going into the underwater section. It is all about not losing the grip as Mutta almost slides out right there. But he saved it. He saved it because he hit the inside of the underwater section, which is a plastic section, so you don't lose speed by touching the wall.
Oh, and Carl
Jr. jumps out, and now Mutta is in a prime position to take it home. He only needs one left-hander, and he does not get it. But Carl Jr. also making a mistake, but
Carl crashed, and he has a bad respawn. Carl cannot respawn. Carl had to go double respawn because he crashed at the ring checkpoint. It's a Fiesta. The nerves are coming through, but Mutta will take that. So interesting.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened is that at Carl Jr., there's you don't get to see it often, but there is actually a fragile block. So if you touch a wall, your car can't really do the rest of the turn. So unfortunately, Carl Jr. had to respawn there.
Yeah, and you cannot standing respawn from a ring check when you have to flying respawn, and he would just continuously bonk the wall. So first all the way back, it's a miracle round, but that kind of round and winning it gives you a really good momentum feeling. Like, you both failed, but you still get the point. You don't have to sit with that awful feeling of like, oh, I could have had that. Come on, that was stupid. But here, Mutta has a small clip. It makes him have less speed, and Carl might just be able to retaliate immediately afterwards. But yeah, as you said here, very close for Mutta last round. He went all the way out wide, but did not lose too much speed by colliding. And it's half a second only, actually. This is not over, considering how precise this ending really is. With the water grip, Mutta has nothing to lose, is going to push it. If he gets the perfect inside line, maybe he can get closer. Carl, though, that looks beautiful for the setup, and he will secure that one, 58-18. Bit left to be decided for the pace, but that's a point in his favor.
I mean, at least it's like almost 10 seconds ahead of before.
It really is, yeah.
You know, I mean, it is, you know, it is also difficult being in the situation where both the players fail that badly. You can't really tell what happened to the other players. So you just have to, you know, quickly decide, oh, I need to full respawn, or oh, I need to respawn to do this. And fortunately for Mutta, he was able to take it home. Carl Jr. giving a quick revenge right there, and they're both now on 1 point. But Mutta seems to be in the lead right here, and if he gets the plastic section down, and he does, he maintains the lead, almost 0.2 ahead of Carl Jr. Carl Jr. is trying to get back. Did get a really good drift there on the plastic wall. Is he going to be able to overtake Mutta here on the uphill? Carl Jr. has more speed, risks it a little bit, and he does, actually gaining in on Mutta. They're going to be very close going into the identities. Anybody going to get any airtime? They're not, and they're going to be neck and neck going into the identity here, Virtual.
Carl is just trailing by a little bit, but he has sniped so many players today in the ending, and look at that trajectory. He's going to try to do it again. Mutta will travel to exit speed, but it's a 600th difference in favor of Carl. And once again, he steals around right at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we've seen Carl do several times today, is that ending, he gets it, he gets to accelerate before the other players, and the exit speed just accumulates through those last couple of turns, giving him the victory. And he did it once again, showing you that he does have what it takes to get that identity down really consistent and really fast. But now, once again, Mutta is in the lead, and Carl Jr. is going to be fighting for it. Mutta getting a really good line there, it looks like. And he's going to be almost 0.2 ahead, actually getting too much exit speed, and goes a little bit too wide because of it. And they're once again going to be neck and neck. Carl Jr. going for a little bit of a lower line here on the plastic wall ride, not getting as much exit speed as Mutta. So Mutta retaking that first place, going into the uphill, and who is going to take it home here?
Oh, Mutta really was quick to adapt his line there, almost slid out in the uphill. But he holds it together now. He has 0.3. This should be his point. He really needs this one. Else Carl is finalist. Gets a good inside line. Sets up wide on the left side. That's what you need to carry speed all the way into the finish. It's a beautiful run. 57.38. Only 2/10 from the world record. And that is a statement point for Mutta.
Yes, and now it's 2-2 once again. Both the players getting the same amount of points, and you gotta wonder if Carl Jr. is getting a little bit worried here by Mudda's pace on Carl Jr.'s map pick. Going into the next round, let's see who gets the best uphill here on the plastic section. Mudda once again. I mean, Mudda is known as a good full-speed player, so it does make sense that he gets a really good start there since it's a full-speed start. But once we get into this slow section here on the plastic, Mudda has had a few mistakes, and Carl Jr. does overtake. Once again, going with the low line here on the plastic section, not getting the same amount of speed as Mudda, but they're gonna be they're gonna be neck and neck right here. They're really close to each other. Carl Jr. does seem to risk it a little bit more there on the watery section on the road, but they're going to be really close. Mudda gets a better line. What a line there from Mudda in the ending, and it's all down to this last identity. Mudda getting it, but Carl Jr. once again with the exit speed. Is he going to be able to overtake? No, Mudda does maintain the speed. Mudda now the first one to reach the finalist.
Amazing defense from Mudda there. Carl was just trying to do what he's been doing all day, sniping the end. But this time, Mudda matches that pace, and he does not lose it. He's finalist once again. He could have 2 maps advantage against Carl if he wins one more round here, and then we're going on to his choice. Then we're going on to Quicksand, where he set a world record earlier today. If Mudda takes this map, he is very well on his path to win the Tmgl playoffs against Carl. Of all players, needs to see here, though, if he can get that 1 point. Will Carl let it happen? These are the moments where Carl steps up and Mudda slides out. Very unfortunate. And with the 2-second knockout rule in play, we could see it happen here. Mudda 2 seconds behind the first checkpoint, and that's going to be the second. If Carl gets 3 checkpoints in a row here, that's a knockout, and that means this round goes to Carl. We will have a double finalist for the last round of Water Glider.
Oh, you gotta love the double finalist situations, because it's always so tense, and Carl Jr. is really looking to take this map down, because if he doesn't, he knows that Mudda has incredible pace. Getting the world record on the Quicksand map earlier.
Indeed. But let's follow this now. It is so close between them. They've had rounds decided by just a couple of hundredths, and this last round is very important now for the tail of the match, the momentum the players will have on the other maps as well. Mudda losing a bit of speed before the no slide on the plastic. That's going to be about a 10th in favor of Carl after the speed advantage is equalized here at 1300ths before the uphill. Carl holding the grip, so does Mudda. Wider setup for Mudda, meaning he can get a bit closer perhaps before the uphill, but he really has to risk it all in the end. Carl does it perfectly almost every time, and Mudda has nothing to lose here. Gotta go all in on the water. Carl losing a bit of time. Mudda with a wider setup could have more speed for the finish. Mudda can snipe it away. Mudda will take the map.
He gets it. What an incredible ending by Mudda.
The wide setup gives him the speed, and he takes it. He's up 2 maps against Carl.
And going into Quicksand of any map, like, Mudda is looking really good at the moment. Now, not saying that Carl Jr. is not quick on Quicksand, because we have seen him go for that ramp cut and getting low lines and getting really good times. But earlier today, we saw Mudda drive a world record time on Quicksand in one of the rounds. And if he can show that pace once again, it is looking very dangerous for Carl Jr.
It really is. Mudda's just 4 rounds away from the championship. His personal best here that we know of, a 1:07.62. Driven earlier today. Carl picked the map, as you said. He was driving pace of 1:07.80, 1:07.82, 85. That's around the winning pace that we're going to be seeing. But first, we have to see if they survive the start. Very difficult movement here to get on the right side of those small trees. But it sets you up for great speed for this entire straight. And it gains about 2 to 3 tenths against not doing it. They both got it good. Now this turn can be decisive. The outside bank dirt turn. If you hit the wall here, the round is pretty much over, as your opponent will get that knockout. They both survive, so we have a great first round on our hands. Carl Jr. gets a bit more speed before the bobsleigh. This will transfer into a decent lead, but maybe Mudda can make something happen in the ending.
You see Mudda actually going more straight into the dirt section right there. Oh, have a mistake there from Carl, and Mudda's now taking the first place away. Is he going to be able to maintain the lead here going into the last section? You need the exit speed here after the engine off section, and Mutta does get it. Carl Jr. more than half a second behind, and Mutta needs to see if he can maintain this lead. Carl Jr. once again with the ram cut, trying to get closer to Mutta, but Mutta has a solid lead here. More than 0.3 to his name. All he needs to do is save it here in the ending, not getting too slow of a turn, and he does seem to get it. All he needs to do is drive into the finish, and he does it with a 108.41.
And I just remember that one round we had last week where Mutta went all the way to the left side on the finish. It's just funny to see him now. Every time he does an extra right tap, he just doesn't want to crash the finish anymore. And it's understandable. It's the right thing to do. He gets the first point, 3 points away now for Mutta to potentially 3-0 sweep Carl Jr.
That would be an incredible feat not a lot of people have done ever. And Mutta seems to be able to do it right here. Actually has more exit speed, gets a wider line there on the dirt, more exit speed going in, but he hits the pillar, and Carl Jr. is now going to be all alone. But Mutta had such a good start to the map, and Carl Jr. is going to see himself being almost 1.5 seconds ahead.
Yeah.
It's not a knockout, but Carl Jr. knows that he's pretty far ahead, but he cannot afford to make a mistake. It only requires one mistake.
Yeah, and if he
slides out here.
Oh, there's a lot that can happen, but that's a really good trajectory. Carl Jr. nails the ice slide. I think we'll see the delta increase here. That's about as good as you get, and Mutta is nowhere to be seen on the... Oh, he actually matched the ice slide. That's why. Exactly 110 on the split. But yeah, Carl into the ending section here. Wide setup for the booster. Takes a bit of sand. Does not want to go too wide. And he will put us on a 1-1 here.
Yeah, unfortunate mistake there by Mutta. Mutta had such a great start. He really had so much exit speed going out of that dirt section. He went so wide. And unfortunately, that resulted in him hitting one of the pillars. But if he can continue and not get too let down by his own mistake, he could still take this home very well because he is driving such good pace right now.
Great start by both players into the third round. They both survived that start trick, but Carl almost sets up too wide in the bank turn. Very close to crashing out there. Mutta going a bit safer now around those pillars to make sure that doesn't happen again. But in the next corner, he's right back in to going pixel perfect around it. Good speed on the bobsleigh. Just look at how he's going to be able to basically regain everything here into the checkpoint. They're now just about equal. Mutta, one of the best ice and bobsleigh players in the game, and here into the ice slide, we might see him extend into first place after the landing. The exit speed will be there for Mutta, but Carl has the ramp cut. So if Carl lands this trick now, he can get first place. He lands very early, and look at the exit speed for Carl. He's going to be right up there fighting Mutta for this point. They're side by side into the quicksand. The last turn setup will decide it. Carl will have more speed. Mutta has the lead. Is Carl going to overtake? It's getting closer, but Mutta holds it. 107.82 and 107.87 here from both players. Amazing round.
What a great round. Yeah, great performance by both the players. It was a good back and forth as well. Mutta did hold it down in the ending, but my god, these players are definitely showing up right now. Jumping into another round, both the players get the start down. Mutta does take the lead from the get-go, but it is not over yet at all. Let's see who gets the widest line here on the left-handed bank turn. No engine, but they both go wide. Got pretty much the same amount of speed. Mutta is in the lead, but Carl Jr. getting a better line into the plastic, and they're now going to be closer than before. Carl Jr. trying to get a better line into
Mutta's
the bobsleigh.
He's gaining a tenth there almost, just with the steering more precisely.
Yeah, but Mutta does maintain the lead though, and Mutta has shown that here on the ice slide, he is able to get so much exit speed. Carl Jr. landing a little bit more sideways, and that's going to cost him some speed. Mutta now in the lead. Carl Jr. going a little bit tighter to set up for that ramp cut, and he gets it so consistently, and they're once again going to be neck and neck going into the identity. Mutta a little bit ahead. Is he going to maintain the speed? He is going tight there, hitting the inside of the booster. Carl Jr. actually overtaking with a left-handed turn, and Carl Jr. getting the point, and it's now going to be 2 points to each of the players.
Oh, clutch ending from Carl Jr. to take that away. Sets up wider, gets more speed, and regains the lead just before the finish. It's absurd he's going for that ramp cut, by the way. That is something that I don't think I could do in 10 attempts, 100 attempts. He's doing it every time here at that level to gain just a few hundredths. That's all it gains. But he decides it worth the risk to go for it in the finals. And it's working out so far. 2-2 on the scoreline. No crashes yet on these very opening turns. And Mutta will try to avoid that pole crash once again, as it costs him a valuable point. But now, being in the lead before the bobsleigh with more speed, he could easily have a 10th by the end of it, just by steering more smoothly than Carl. Carl able to match him here. And they are driving very fast into the opening of this lap. We'll see the ice slide exit speed could be decisive here with who will win the round. Carl going low on the approach means he's going to exit high, and that is not a lot of speed. Mutta now 0.3 ahead. Could have this round to himself. Carl not even able to make the jump after he crashes. Mutta might go up into finalist on match point here. One round away from being Trackmania Grand League champion.
Yes, and what an incredible performance he's doing, putting himself in the finalist position. And is Mutta gonna be able to give us a 3-map victory against 0? Like, Mutta against Carl Jr. Mutta is showing up so great right now. Almost 3 maps down for Mutta without any maps down for Carl Jr. But Carl Jr. gets the lead here in the start. This might be the last map. Mutta in finalist position. Carl Jr. with 2 points. Who's going to take down the grand final right here? Carl Jr. gets a nice white line on the bank third turn. Mutta is going to remain behind. 0.2 difference here separating the players, but Mutta gets a more inside line, actually getting a little bit closer to Carl Jr. going into the bobsleigh section. Mutta is gonna try to see if he can get more exit speed, and it does seem like it does so, getting closer and closer to Carl Jr. It's gonna be up to the exit speed you get down here from the ice wall ride. Carl Jr. is still in front though. If Carl Jr. can make it down, it's gonna be a double finalist situation. Carl Jr. does get the exit speed he needs,
Look at
but
Mutta
Mutta gets so much more, and Mutta is now overtaking the lead. Is he gonna be able to close down the grand finals right now? Mutta gets a super inside line right here. Carl Jr. tries with the ramp cut. They're gonna be so close to each other. Is Carl Jr. gonna be able to overtake and denying Mutta the victory? Mutta makes a mistake, and Carl Jr. is now alone in the top. Mutta is not gonna be able to take it home. Carl Jr. does make it a double finalist situation.
Oh my god, what an intense round. Mutta hits the wall in the setup. Could have perhaps had it there, but Carl clutching out a win, and we go to double finalists on quicksand. If Carl wins this round, he can recuperate. He can stabilize and perhaps go again on his map choice, but he needs to survive this round here to have a say. Mutta could close her out right now. He's only 1 round away from lifting the trophy. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. But if he can get 1 clean run through, that might be it. Oh, he hits the wall in the freewheeling. Carl is running away with this round, and we might just be going to map 4 on hard, picked by Carl Jr., as it is 1 second of a difference. But it's not over yet. It is a difficult map to survive in its own right, especially if you try to safe and you go out of your own rhythm. Let's see if Carl can hold this together under a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, I mean, I almost am out of breath from that last round. That was so intense. Carl Jr. just needs to get this jump. Almost not getting it, but does get a fine amount of exit speed. And I don't think Mutta has enough to overtake right now. So Carl Jr. still
not going for the ramp cut.
Going for the ramp cut. Yeah, he's just saving it right there. Very understandable. Being a second ahead, he does not need to go for the ramp cut. All he needs to do is get a couple of turns right here, and he has equalized it. Right now, both of them are finalists. Carl Jr. getting the finalist position over with, and it's now going to be a map for Carl Jr., 2 map for Mutta.
Yeah, we'll see how this one now ends up. Carl is not out of it yet. He's able to find the wins necessary to put us to map 4. Hard picked by him, and he was playing very fast in it, but Mutta was able to drive really good on it in step 6, at least step 5 and 6. Where he did win champion medals. He was able to win on those maps, so we'll see if he can do it here.
Yeah, it's going to be very intense because this map is, as we've said, a very, very tight map, very consistent map, and the players are going to, you know, try to push it everywhere for that 100s in each turn. And, you know, I think it's going to be a very interesting finish. Carl Jr. really must have been sweating there in that last finalist situation, but, you know, he did pull through. and we're now on to map 4.
And that's the thing about Carl. We've said it all day. If you bet against him, that is an unlikely bet to go through in your favor. Carl somehow always finds just the necessary wins to go through. That is why he is the greatest. He performs under pressure when it matters. He steps up, and he has done that in numerous world champions and championships and Trackmania Grand League finals in the past. But here, Mudda is putting him under pressure. I think we haven't seen in a long time. 2 maps lead, almost got the 3rd, and we're on map 4 now, round 1, where Mudda is trying to keep up with Carl's start. A little bit behind after the early drifts, but in the end, we're not going to get there, it looks like. So Mudda crashes out in the slalom. Let's see if Carl can defend this now.
Yeah, all Carl has to do is get the identity down. He is not 2 seconds ahead, so it's not a knockout. He has to make these jumps happen, but he can afford to save it, going for a little bit of a higher jump right here, making sure that he doesn't clip, and he takes it all the way home. The first point goes to Carl Jr.
That might put the momentum in his favor, you know? Like, he just came off of a map win. He gets the first win on hard here. Mudda needs to turn the tide. He needs to stop the bleeding, so to speak, and get a point now to show Carl he's here to play. Second round up, he was able to follow. Let's see if he can do it here in the second one.
Yeah, like we've also discussed this. The next map, if Carl Jr. wins this one, the next map is Tiny Gap, and both of these players were so close last time we saw them play. Like, they were fighting against each other last time we saw Tiny Gap. So once again, it is up to Mudda now to close it out. I think he's really gonna be trying, but Carl Jr. has a very, very solid lead, gets a good line into the uphill. Mudda tries to gain a little bit of speed on him, and it does look like he's closing the gap going into the slalom section, getting closer and closer, but he hits the outside wall. Unfortunate, and now it's all up to Carl Jr. just to get this last identity section down, and he's gonna take in another round.
Yeah, this is big for Carl Jr. now, not just surviving the last map, but starting off pretty much immediately with 2 points here for himself. Tough position for Mudda to work with.
It is a really tough position. Also, you know, you're coming down from such a big high, almost winning three maps in a row, and now you're looking at a 2-0 deficit here after Carl Jr. just won your previous map. Like, it is not an easy mindset to get out of.
Yeah, and it's like you knew you were so close. You were 1 round away. You're probably kicking yourself, but getting a freebie here would do well for your mental. Mudda is not yet aware of his lead. He's gonna know it on the next checkpoint now. He's gonna see the split that Carl has made a mistake and that he can afford to slow down a little bit. But this is an interesting dynamic because the crash happened so early. Carl is gonna go all in from here on out. Mudda's gonna try to drive safer. You can see every split here, Carl is gaining a few hundredths back, and we'll see if Mudda is able to adapt his pace just enough to defend all the way to the finish, because he's gonna try to not make any big rash decisions, and Carl is just chipping away at this 100th by 100th in each section. He's getting very close now. It's only 0.3 left in Mudda's favor, but that should be enough for the identity, but he clips the plank, and that is Carl overtaking Mudda, not able to hold that lead, and Carl is now on finalist on his own map.
Yeah, with 0 points to Mudda's name, and that's the thing, right? Because Carl Jr. knew that he had nothing to lose. Like, either he got first or nothing happened, and he was so far behind that he was just gonna push everywhere. Like, there was no way that he was gonna go slow at any point. And Mudda just saw the splits. He saw him getting closer and closer and closer, and that is a scary position to be in, and it just got to him in the end.
It really did. Now Carl, finalist. Mudda needs 4 rounds in a row on Carl's choice. A very pace-based map, not a lot of tricks here. And if I've read the script correctly, we could be going to the final map for a 2-on-2 scoreline. Let's see if Carl here is able to close out hard. It's a very tough position for Mudda to work with. If he can get 1 or 2 rounds strung together, maybe he has a chance to get the win here, but it's looking very dire right now.
Yeah, Carl Jr. has a consistent setup for the start that just gives him just even almost up to 2/10 ahead of Mutta here, and he goes into the identity 0.3 ahead. All he has to do is get a decent identity, and he will take this map victory away from Mutta. Mutta getting a little bit closer, trying to push it, but unfortunately clips, and it is going to be Carl Jr. who takes the map win here on hard. Both the players have 2 maps to their name, and it's going to be a final map to see who's going to be the victor of this Trackmania Grand League.
It's all ending on Tiny Gap. What a story overall here. Carl versus Mutta. It could have ended on map 3. We get to see all 5 maps and a potential 7 rounds of Trackmania to decide who is the best player this season. Is it Carl or is it Mutta? Let's find out.
Yeah, we couldn't have asked for anything better than having both the players get 2 maps down, right? Like, it could not have been more perfect. Like, they followed the script to a T.
They really did. I'm impressed. Quick breather here for the players, and then we go live on Tiny Gap. One of Mutta's best, but Carl also showed up here earlier on the day, and the pressure is intense. I think that is going to be the most important part. Whoever can handle the nerves right now the best will be our champion.
Yes, we saw Carl Jr. and Mutta play this map against each other earlier, and they both ended up in finalist mode, but Mutta did take home the map earlier today. At the end of the day, is he gonna be able to do the same once again? We're gonna have to find out right here as Mutta takes the lead in the start of the map. Carl Jr. really trying to push and pressure, actually getting a better turn right there, I think, but still is in second. Goes for a little bit of a wider line to get more exit speed into this ice section. It's going to be down to who gets the lowest quarter pipe jump. It does look like Carl Jr. has a little bit more speed, is able to go a little bit lower here than Mutta, is going to take the first place position away. It's now in the lead, but gets some air time.
And that gives Mutta an opportunity. He's going to see it on the split, perhaps 0.2. Enough to make a win happen on this first round. Jumps very much on the inside, has to adapt his line to avoid the checkpoint, and now the speed 210. Is that going to be too short for the Tiny Gap? He lands the jump, and Carl does as well, but Mutta will hold that lead, and the first round goes to him.
So Mutta with a win here in the first round. Very important for his mental, as he did not get any points in the previous map. Starting Tiny Gap with a point is a very good sign for Mutta that he has not given, like, of course he hasn't given up, but he hasn't given up on his mental game either. And let's see if he can keep that momentum going.
It is certainly possible here, but very few people have ever beaten Carl Jr. in a scenario like this. We had Gwen, who in the fall season 2 years ago took him to map 5, but that time Carl Jr. showed that he was still the best. And then Pack tried as well, but could not defeat Carl Jr. in the Tmgl finals. Now Mutta is the next person up to give him a run for his money. Has put him under a lot of pressure on the first 2 maps. Carl answered back, and now we're here on map 5 with Mutta leading so far. And in the next round, they're dead even once again on the split, 1/100th apart. Carl Jr. will avoid the jump, and it's Mutta jumping this time. Carl now in the lead before the big jump.
Yeah, and I think he sees the split right there. He just drove through his CP, and he's going to see that Mutta is quite far behind. He just needs to hit the gap here, and he does so. That's such a lot big speed, and Mutta is going to overtake. Carl Jr. jumping too far, had to release in the air, losing all the exit speed. Mutta capitalized him big time, and is now 2-0 in the Trackmania Grand League Grand Finals.
Oh, and those are the leads you can't afford to miss now. Those are the rounds you have to win, because Mutta is 2 rounds away from winning the entire championship. There's no more maps after this. And that one, even though Mutta made a mistake, he still ends up with a win, and that has to feel good now. Into the lead in the 3rd round as well. Mutta with a lot of momentum in his favor. Carl now under as much pressure as I think you can get in a match. How does he handle it? How does he come back from this now? Tries for an inside line on the checkpoint and will get decent speed to put him into first before the quarter pipe jump. See how he gets through on the other side. Is that too short? Is he gonna make it? Oh, with a very low trajectory. Barely enough to get across. But still, Mutta is right there next to him, fighting for it every step of the way. Into the last jump, they're gonna be equal through the entire race. This will decide if Mutta gets finalist or if Carl gets a small comeback. Mutta going for a lower jump. Is it too low? Is he gonna land with the speed? Mutta carries the speed. Will it hold? Carl stays ahead with 9,000s.
What an incredible ending by both the players. Mudda really pushing it there in the ending. He had, like, if he was one kilometer an hour slower, he would not have made that jump. Like, that is as close as you can cut it, and Mudda really trying hard to push it, like, and risk it as much as possible. Didn't almost pay off. But Carl Jr. now getting a point to his name. Mudda with 2 points. Mudda is 1 point away from getting that finalist position, but Carl Jr. taking the lead here in this round from the get-go. Mudda actually pushing it pretty hard, getting a little bit of a wider line, so Carl Jr. once again extending his lead a little bit, but it's not over yet. Going into the ice section, they're going to be setting up for this quarter pipe jump. Carl Jr. hitting a little bit of the penalty sand, or the penalty ice there. With
Carl going very high. Mudda's coming back. Mudda gained a 10th there.
So close, though.
And into the water. Oh, Mudda landing a bit wider. Will have a better uphill trajectory. Carl still in first, but Mudda had a great jump last time. Can he repeat that feat and get closer to Carl here? Finalist is just 1 win away. Carl's going far. He released late. Mudda has a chance to win this, and he will. Mudda is finalist 1 round away with Carl on 1 point.
Oh, Mudda putting himself in the finalist position. That is so scary for Carl. He is going to have a lot of pressure weighing on his shoulders as we go into the potentially last round of the grand finals here, as Mudda is in that finalist position against Carl Jr. Carl Jr. is going to be looking to deny Mudda here, and he has to deny him not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. Mudda is in the lead already. Carl Jr. is going to be fighting back with all his might. Mudda is trying to hold that first place position. Carl Jr. once again with a tighter line tries to overtake and does get the overtake, but less speed is going to mean that Mudda is going to jump back up, and they're going to be neck and neck once again. Mudda going for a more inside line. Is he going to make it to overtake? And it not quite. They're both going to be very close to each other. Who's going to get the lowest jump right
Mudda
here?
going low. Mudda clipped it.
Mudda not getting the jump, and Carl Jr. is now going to be all alone in the lead here.
Carl gets some time to breathe. Probably held his breath for the majority of that round, but here, 0.8, but not over yet. Keep in mind that jump is hard to survive. He did fail from a winning spot last time. Going for 2:14 here, that should be enough for a slightly released line, and Mudda is not getting any closer. That will be Carl taking the point. He still needs to deny 2 more times to take the trophy.
Oh my god, Carl Jr. is really putting in the work right now. And 2 more times, as you said, is what Carl Jr. has to get knocked down right here. And that is not easy against the pace that Mudda is putting up.
It really is not, and Mudda is just trying to close this out. He just wants to see 1 mistake from Carl to know it's all over, to know he's won it. But Carl is holding on. He's not letting go, and he will not ever let go of this one. He's going to fight Mudda for it. You have to prove that you want it enough to beat me in a round here, because Carl just does this so well time after time. In championship after championship, he does not make too many mistakes. And here again, even though he's down, even though he has to win the last 2 rounds, he's still fighting for it, and he is tied with Mudda before the quarter pipe jump. They both get a good line here. Mudda not too low, gets a good landing to put him into first now. He only needs to hold that lead to the finish, but Carl will be able to overtake before the water part. Inside line by both. It's only a few hundredths. Can Mudda snipe it away in the last jump? This is a great opportunity to take it, but he has an awkward landing beforehand. 2:13. Does Carl have the line to go at full speed? He does. And Janik, we're going to double finalist to the side Tmgl.
Incredible double finalist situation to end off the Tmgl, and not only is it a double finalist situation, both of the players also have 2 maps down, so it's a double finalist situation. It is the last round of the Trackmania Grand League Grand Finals. It is Carl Jr. against Mudda. Both the players.
Okay, this is important.
Clipped the start.
Carl lost about a 10th there, and that puts him off his ideal trajectory. Does not jump as high as he wanted to onto the curved block, and Mudda is able to get about 2/10 out of that. And now we'll see how Carl is able to play from this position. Tries to catch up over the donut jumps, but Mutta has more speed. This will extend. Carl needs a good drift setup here to remain in the match. He goes a little bit wide. It's 0.3 in favor of Mutta in a really good spot here to potentially take the throne away from Carl. Carl will try with a low jump to get a bit closer. He gained 2/10 over the uphill and downhill no jump. Carl is still getting closer. It's still the same gap. Mutta trying to hold on. The last jump to the side. Who wins? Tmgl this season. Carl barely overtaking the lead. Mutta is going to go for the more speed. Whoever gets it best here wins. And Mutta will have slightly more speed.
Who gets there? It's so close. We can't see points. 6,000 of a second, and Mutta wins the Tmgl Grand League.
Incredible.
Oh
he just had a sliver advantage to secure the win. That is how close it is, but Mutta is your champion from down under. The first time Australia's ever won a major Trackmania tournament, and what a performance.
That was incredible. That is the tightest I've ever seen an ending be. What a... I'm out of words. I don't even know what to say. What just happened?
In the last round, you win by 6,000. That's the difference between winning the tournament and getting second place. Unbelievable performance by both players. That is one of the best 1v1 matches I think we've ever had. And it happened in the finals. Incredible stuff.
2 maps down for both the players, both of them in finalist situation, and 6,000 separating them in the last round. There is no way we could have asked for a better Tmgl finals.
That's just unheard of. I mean, throughout the day, we saw incredible gameplay, and Mutta even, you know, setting World X in the match. Almost had it on quicksand, could have had a 3-0, but then Carl able to stabilize, able to win that, able to sweep hard. And then we go to the last map, and it's just coming down to 1 round, and it ends that close. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, I'm speechless, Zanik. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. No, I am with you, brother. There's no like real words you can express that just puts this all into like a good picture. It's just incredible. You had to be there. You
had to be there, and you were here, everybody. It's a beautiful thing to witness. Trackmania at this level is just so enjoyable to watch because you just see such competitive drive to push yourself just above and beyond and drive, you know, close to the world record pace every time. That's what it takes to win. And Mutta is now the champion. Insane. I want to see if we can maybe get a talk with Mutta. I'm pretty sure he's freaking out right now, but I'm going to send him a message and see if we can get an interview.
That was incredible. I'm sure he's freaking out. That was so close. His heart must be racing. Hopefully he is he's okay.
I'm going to give him some time to land, of course, but you were here, everybody. Wow. And a lot of people were here too. I think that's a new viewer record here on the stream. So very, very cool to see so many people that are tuning in for the finals. There is more Tmgl coming up as well in the next couple of weeks. We have the relegation promotion tournament in May, where we get to see who joins the Tmgl next season. So that's also happening. But yeah, insane.
And of course, guys, there is much more competitive gameplay going on in Trackmania all the time. So do check out all of the competitive stuff you can find on the Discords and such. If you are interested in more of this game, we do welcome you to be a participant or a watcher of the multiples of great stuff that's going on.
Yeah, indeed. It's a beautiful